spoken and conversations be open. I can't be holding on to nothing that ain't keeping me.
What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Just John, and this here is POETivation. You feel me? Po up, po up, po up. Part of this podcast, it's been really heavy on my heart to share my story and who I am as an artist and creative. So for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Just John. I'm a poet, rapper, singer, songwriter from Miramar, Florida. I recently moved to Miami, as you can see from my beautiful, beautiful balcony. We're in the heart of Miami, downtown, and just living it up. So part of what I do is I write songs, I write poetry, and I perform, I curate events, I host events, and I do a plethora of other things. I've done commission work for over 5 major sports teams, including the Miami Heat, the Miami Dolphins, Homestead NASCAR Speedway, etc. I've done plethora of music videos and productions here, from Akon to DJ Khaled to Future to Osuna to Ira Star, Skip Marley, like the list continues. And I've just had the pleasure of being able to be here in Miami and just be a full-time creative, you know? I like to say that I paid my rent with the poems I wrote. Shouts out to Omari Hardwick for that quote. But with that being said, I just want to get right into it because it's been heavy on my heart to share with you guys some motivation, some POETivation from myself on what it feels like to be a full-time creative. So we're going to talk a little bit about the why today, but I'm going to share my story with y'all and hope that y'all just follow me along with this journey, all right? So, I guess we could start from what got me writing poetry. I wrote poetry. My first poem that I ever written was in middle school, and I tell this story all the time, but the best way I could put it was I had this crush on this girl in middle school, and I didn't really know how to express myself. You know, I'm the youngest of 4 boys. I got 3 brothers, 6 siblings total, but I'm the youngest boy. And I think that dynamic, it was hard for me to express myself, and it was hard for me to, share feelings because we just kept it so, thug in the crib, you know? It was like, feel me, we talk about whatever we talk about, but that's it. And it was really hard for me to express myself. So I played basketball. I was an athlete. So I was of course, looked at as the last hope, if you will. But I took a lot of that burden in. And so I ended up playing basketball all throughout high school, et cetera, et cetera. But let's backtrack. So I'm in middle school, and I don't know how to express myself. I have this girl that I'm crushing on. And every single walk, you know, you have your routine walks when you're in middle school or high school. You have to third period, you walk a certain routine route and you see the same friends or you dap people up, whatever. So I used to see this girl every walkway to third period. And I was like, man, every single time I would try to do something to incite her, whether it was a funny joke or give her a hug, or maybe I did something cool. Maybe I, got her a little candy or whatever it was, you know. So this time I'm like, man, things are getting kind of serious. She laughing at a lot of my jokes, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna try to, tell her how I feel. So I wrote this poem, long poem, and at the bottom of the paper I wrote, would you date me, yes or yes? So of course, what she circled. But with that, I learned the power of my voice and my words and how to express myself, and I learned the power there is when you're able to just be vulnerable to somebody. And sometimes that could be taken as a weakness, but to me it's a strength. It's always been my strength. It's what I pride myself on. So going forward, that was my first time I ever wrote a poem. And so flash forward in high school, my brother's an engineer. He's into music. He's done stuff with plethora of artists. I'm not going to name who on this podcast yet. With that, I was starting to get into music. We had a home studio at the crib. I would record anytime I wanted. I was learning how to do my own engineering. And I was like, man, I'm kind of getting into this music thing. So in lunch at Miramar High, we used to freestyle every day. Me and my homies would get on beats on the table. We'd be beating on the table, whatever, and we would just freestyle. And I think that's what sparked a lot of my creativity to be myself and to just express myself even more. And this one teacher, I'll shout out Miss Clarington every single time because she was so relentless in her discovery of who I was as an artist. She used to see me in lunch and she heard I was the dope spitter. So she was like, yo, I want you to be a part of this team, this poetry club that we have. Me, I'm hearing poetry. I'm like, Shakespeare, roses are red, violets are blue. Man, I'm good. Like, I'm good off that. But she was like, nah, trust me. Like, you just got to come by, check it out. It's exactly what you do. Like, I've heard you before. People talk about you all the time. Like, I want you to be a part of our team. So I'm ducking her for like a month. She's seeing me every time I see her. She's like, Poetry Club, Tuesdays, every time. So I'm like, man, like, I can't get rid of her. So it was one time she came to me and she was like, hey, you want to not go to school tomorrow? And I was like, I'm interested. Sign me up. What's up? She's like, okay, well, I got a field trip you can go to instead of being in class. All you got to do is get this permission waiver signed. And I'm like, cool. She's like, but it's for Poetry Club. I'm like, damn, she got me. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. I'll do it. Whatever, cool. So I went and it completely changed my life. Like, I went and there was so many like-minded artists like myself that were in the same space. People were beatboxing at lunch, beating on tables, freestyling, and the poetry was just so real and authentic that I was like, man, this is what I love to do. Like, I dissect lyrics all the time. I'm on Rap Genius, like dissecting J. Cole or Mac Miller lyrics. I'm like, just making my own versions of certain verses, freestyles, whatever. And I realized, like, man, this is what I love to do. I love to write. I'm a avid writer. So I'm like, cool. I go to the poetry thing and it completely changes my life. I meet so many dope friends that I'm still friends with to this day. Shouts out Savannah Christina. That's the first time I was putting out my mixtape and I met her and I'm like, yo, I'm dropping a mixtape soon. Fuck with me, follow me on Instagram, whatever it was at that time. And I'm like, man, this is something that I like. Like, I'm invested in this and I'm meeting so many like-minded people. Come to find out, I joined the poetry team and we end up winning the whole competition. Like, statewide competition. So I'm like, wow, that instant gratification for what I'm doing. I'm like, oh, I'm good at this shit. Cool. I'm going to keep doing it. So I kept on pursuing it throughout college. I went to FIU and pause up, you feel me? And I got my major in communications because something I was good at. I knew I was good at it. I'm like, cool. Let me go to school and just do something I'm great at so I could just enhance the skill. And so I came to find out that, like, the first week of school at FIU in college, I was doing 3 or 4 shows by that time. Like, I was really hamster on the wheel, like grinding to get my name out there. Free shows. I was getting paid at this time. I probably had 1 paid show in my life, and that was a feature when I was 18 years old. Shouts out to Quick the Poet for having me at Piano Lounge. But with that, I was like, cool, I'm going to just do everything to get my name out there. I was dropping freestyles on Twitter. Poems were going viral left and right. Like, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, people like this. Let me keep going. So I did a BSU open mic, and I'll never forget it. It completely changed the trajectory of my college experience because I was this freshman coming in with mad, confidence, and I'm on stage talking my shit. And I used to play ball. So when I went to the gym the next day after the open mic, my homeboy, shouts out to Mark Made, he's like, yo, you the poet that spat at the BSU open mic. I'm like, yeah, it's me, whatever, you feel me? He's like, yo, all the girls be raving about you, like, they be talking about you and shit. Like, yeah, bro, keep doing your thing, you dope. Come to find out he's an artist too, and we connected that way through basketball, but with my creativity. So I like to say I found a way to bridge those 2 gaps. I like to say, like, I was like Troy Bolton of, like, Miramar High School, for High School Musical. And this kid who was an athlete and started doing drama club and poetry club, like, all of these, like, things that people would deem, like, sensitive or soft or whatever. I was like, nah, yeah, I'm an athlete, I'm cool, I'm captain of the varsity team, but I'm also a poet. Like, don't get this mistaken, you feel me? And people looked up to that because they were like, wow, this guy knows how to be himself full time. And I prided myself on that. That's what Just John is about. That's what my brand is about. That's what I speak on. Actually, Just John, the name came about from Poetry Club. And just me being authentic, getting on stage one time. Everybody had these crazy, outlandish nicknames. And they got up there and they're like, yo, my name's Arsonist. My name is this. My name is, vocabulary violinist or whatever it was. And I was like, yo, my name's Just John. And everybody went crazy. Like, they started dying laughing. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. This sticks. This is me. Cool. And it's an alliteration, you know what I'm saying, for the word lovers out there. But with that, I started, doing shows everywhere at school. It was, it could be cafe night, BSU, like any Caribbean organization. If they were throwing an event, they had a poet. and I was one of those poets. I had another poet that I would be in constant communication with. His name was Rue the Poet, and he motivated me to get on my shit because if I wasn't getting booked, he was getting booked. So it was like, oh nah, who's the top poet? Like we gotta kind of battle it out, and we wasn't thinking like that, but the school was. It was like they were putting us at odds almost. Like we would do the same event, and it would be like, oh, who's gonna have the better set? And me and him looked at each other like, bro, you dope, I'm dope. We ain't even gotta explain ourselves. Like it was love just off rip. But in the school, it kind of kept that competitive edge for me to keep pushing the pen. And I was like, man, all right, this is cool. And then it wasn't just Rue. Shouts out to K-Kid, shouts out to Mark Mays, shouts out to Mari. All my homeboys in my circle was grinding with this artist shit. And I'm like, oh shit, like there's people here, Freddie, there's people here that are really into this. Jekka Soul, the list goes on, you feel me? So I'm doing a lot of name shouting out. That's me. You're going to hear a lot of that in POETivation. Just trust me. Like, you're going to hear a lot of name dropping. So with that, I'm like, cool. I'm getting my name out there. People getting to know who I am. I'm not this freshman anymore. I'm like a seasoned poet, if you will. Like, and by my junior, senior year, people really knew who I was, to the point where I was getting paid. I was doing shows. I was going to Wynwood, doing Art Basel, all of these things. And shouts out to my homeboy Mari. I spoke on him. He's a DJ. He held it down, man. I remember riding in the Toyota Corolla, the red Toyota Corolla, to gigs. There was times where he was working at Sandbar in Coconut Grove, and I had a show in Wynwood, and he was driving me from school to Wynwood, drop me off at my show, drive to Coconut Grove, DJ a set, come back to Wynwood, pick me up to then take us back to school. And we was getting to school at like 3, 4 a.m. just to like actually do school. You know, it was like the grind is what I fell in love with. The hustle is what I fell in love with. And there were times where he would let me take his car and I'm dropping him off at a gig and then going doing my shit and then coming back. You know, one time I got his car towed by mistake. Like, so many things happened in the journey that allowed me and shaped me to who I am today. And now I'm honestly grateful in saying that all of those experiences helped pad me to become the artist I am. You know, it helped me become a professional, full-time creative, because it allowed me to like see bigger than just like the art or just like this one muse, right? It was like, oh man, there's so many outlets out here for all of us to eat, you know? And so yeah, I did a lot of free shows. I started building my name, and then it got to a point where I started like, just, I guess I had a conversation with one of my, I guess you could call him my mentors in high school. His name was Quick, the poet. He was the first feature I ever got. And I asked him at lunch one time, I'm like, man, like, how do you get paid to do this? Like, I want to know how to get paid. And his thing was, like, I thought he was going to give me the answer. Like, oh, bro, you're dope. I'll get you a show right now. You can get paid. Like, I thought that was going to be, like, you know, me asking was going to be like, okay, here. He was like, you'll know when it's time. And he didn't say nothing else. And for me, I was like, man, that doesn't help me, because, like, I think it's time right now. So, you know, but I really, all right, that's what we doing. But I really didn't think that it was time, quote unquote, because if I thought it was time, then I would have done it. You know, it was like, it took gradual, okay, cool, learning lessons, learning experiences. Okay, this is how much I charge. Okay, I can't do that for you, but I'll do this for you. Okay, cool. I started to learn how to negotiate and ask for what I'm worth, you know, or my value, you know, asserting of my value into spaces where I'm like, oh no, I know if I perform here, I'm going to kill this crowd, but I'm not doing this for free. And I built my name for that, you know. And I started taking up other responsibilities, not just performing poetry. I started doing music. I started hosting events. I started curating my own events. I'm like, cool, nobody wants to book me? All right, bet. I'll throw my own show. That never happened. But I'm just saying, like, that was the mentality that I had. Was like, okay, nobody's show is as dope as if I did my own. So let me do my own. You know, let me book the talent. I have so many connections with so many people in South Florida. Let me do it. So it became that. And one day I was sitting on the beach with a couple of my homegirls. We was smoking hookah. Don't tell me how they got the hookah on the beach. I'm smoking my spliff. And I'm like, yo, y'all, I want to do a adult poetry night where, like, we talk our shit for real. Because we sharing poems within each other. It's all very, like, explicit, whatever. I wouldn't say sexual, but it was sensual. So I'm like, yo, this is dope. I want to do something like this. Would y'all want to be a part of it? And they were like, yeah. And there sprouted my first ever Sensual Saturday, something that I do. Shouts out to my homegirl, Sheesh. That's like my right hand, my confidant in this business. And shouts out Purple Bodega. We wouldn't be able to do it without them, to giving us the space to provide poetry to y'all in Midtown Miami. But that was a leap of faith. Somebody trusted me to uphold an assignment. They didn't know much about me at all. He said, come to me with a proposal, tell me what you want to do, and I'll tell you if I approve it. I came to him with it, the who, what, where, when, and whys. He approved it. We did the show. It was a success. It was one of their best nights. Excuse me. It was one of their best nights artistically. And now we've done 3. So we're about to do our 4th one in 2023. And I got to say, that taught me so much about myself and who I am as an artist. So, flash forward to where I'm at now. I pay my rent with the poems I wrote. And I still plan on doing more. I have so much in store for you guys. But a lot of times I get blessed with so many opportunities, and people kind of get that misconstrued. Like, oh, shoot, he's on Hot 97 on the radio. Oh, shoot, he's, performing in New York. Or, yo, he's featuring here or there or whatever. John must be doing well, pockets-wise. And, yeah, I'm doing well for myself. But I've also known that this lifestyle comes with ebbs and flows. Like, it's not all ups as people may think or see on social media. And it's not all downs, like just because you're in a down moment doesn't mean that you're going to struggle or be a struggling artist for the rest of your life. There's definitely ebbs and flows in this game, and it's just knowing how to stay afloat, stay in balance, and staying on the grind, on the hustle, and not overworking yourself. Discipline is very key in this. And so that brings me to the why, you guys out there, part of what I want to do with POETivation is just offer a space for you guys to reflect on your own journey and try to use some of my story, or even if it's not my story you're using, but to hear my story and apply it to yourself. Maybe you're an artist out there that's learning and trying to figure out how to assign a value to your craft. Maybe you're an artist who has a 9-to-5 and wants to dedicate more time to what you're doing artistically. Maybe you are someone who has never picked up a pen before, but you got something to say. Whatever it is, I want to dedicate this podcast to you. So to be able to just share my journey and my story with you guys, so that way you guys can learn, okay, cool, this is what John did, but this is what I want to do with it. Like, this is how I could take that from it, And so, yeah, that's really where this transpired. Shouts out to my homie Tracy Howard, Tracy Supreme. He has a song called Motivation. I'm just giving motivation. Yeah, so POETivation, that's where it came from. But yeah, so going to it, I want to give you guys the why, right? I want you guys to sit down and think about, every time I end these podcasts, I want to have you guys sit down with something and reflect. So if you have a pen, paper, if you have a notebook, if you have your phone, smartphone, and you want to write these things down, I just want you to identify what your why is in your craft, in your art. Maybe it's your work life. Maybe it's your relationship you're thinking about, whatever it is, right? Identify the why, because the why is always going to be what makes you wake up and fuel yourself every single day. It's going to keep your discipline. It's going to keep you motivated. It's going to keep you on track. My why for me is what I just said, this podcast specifically, but as an overall, as Just John, the artist, I want to inspire people to share their story from their lens, from their perspective, just like I'm able to, if I could do it, I know you can too, in your own way. It doesn't have to be the same way I do it, and I want to motivate people to know that, and to know that you're not alone. You know what I'm saying? Like, so many times throughout this journey, I have great friends around me that are probably going through some of the similar things as me, or, even on highs and lows, whatever it is. But they help motivate me to also stay on my grind and stay focused and stay in it, because there's been times I've wanted to quit, and I've seen light at the end of the tunnel. I share a story. Art Basel just passed, and I was feeling away because I was like, man, me as an artist, me as somebody who considers himself one of the dopest artists down here in South Florida, I'm not getting booked for Art Basel. This is crazy. The same day I'm venting to my homegirl, I get a call from a homie that's like, yo, I'm doing a clothing fashion show, with partnering up with this girl, and I would love for you to host. I'm like, man, cool. What's the budget looking like? Tell me the budget. We end up getting booked just like that. And I'm like, man, this is a blessing because I spoke this into existence. And from there, I reminded myself, like, it's not about the demand, people reaching out to me to that makes me the artist I am. No, it's the work. It's the why. It's why I do it. People hit me and they ask me to do things because of how I do it. And I want you guys to remember that when you're doing your craft, when you're performing on stage, when you're sharing a poem or a song or whatever it is, and you forget those things sometimes, just remember that. Remember that voice in your head that's telling you why you do what you do. Maybe it's for family. Maybe it's to put bread on the table. Maybe it's because this is your outlet. This is how you get to share your story and who you are as a person. Whatever it is, identify your why. And I promise you it'll pay off. All right, y'all? It's much love, much blessings. I hope I see you guys at the next episode of POETivation. Let's get it.
Cause we be laughing and joking and conversations be open. I can't be holding on to nothing that ain't keeping me growing since my